Yes, Andres Lorente.
I have a little confession.
Oh, good. I love these confessions. Is it juicy?
Well,
Does it involve a crime?
My commute... No. Well,
Oh, okay.
sort of a crime, but don't tell anyone.
I knew it involved a crime.
My commute to this film was super short. And that's because in this mall, I have found a space where I'm kind of, sort of living rent-free. I've got like a little apartment set up in this mall, so I can come to these movies all the time. I can come in through the emergency exit and watch these films for free.
Now, when you say you have a space where you can live, are you talking about that large trash can that I saw you climb out of earlier on?
Okay. The reason... That's a bottomless trash can. There's a lot of paper on the top, but then you drop down through that. There's a ladder that takes you down to a space, and then you climb another ladder back up. And I have a super little squatter space, a flat right behind the screen. I can hear the movies.
So does that mean also that we can hear you squatting
I don't know
behind the screen?
What does squatting sound like? What does one hand squatting sound like? What's the sound of one hand squatting?
It's like, and we often talk about how like movies are like shared dreams. That was the thing they used to talk about it in film school. Movies are shared dreams, and they kind of are. And movies are also kind of like shopping catalogs. Movies are like they're like mirrors. We go to see ourselves, but we also go to sample the life not lived, isn't it? Yeah. And it's like a little 2-hour holiday without you needing to travel anywhere. Especially you don't need to travel anywhere because you just climb out of that bin to see the film. But one of those kind of fantasies that cinema fulfills is the dream of living somewhere else, isn't it? It's like sampling another little bit of real estate, sampling a different house and a different home, a different place to live. I made a little list while I was waiting for you to climb out of the bin this evening of like my favorite, my top 5 like movie apartments.
Oh,
not seldom I watch a movie and I kind of think, you know what, the film wasn't good, but I would love to live in that house. I love that. So I've made a little list. I don't know whether you have done something similar, but
I have. There was a little piece of paper towel in that trash bin, and I just kind of started jotting that down. So I've done it right here now.
I knew I could rely on you. I reckon. I bet out of our top 5 fantasy movie apartments, there will at least be one overlap.
Ooh.
I reckon. That would be my bet. But I haven't seen what you've written.
I highly doubt it. Okay, good. Well, I'll keep it under this hand here. Who goes first, I guess, is the question.
Okay, I'm going to go first.
This has been your week of going first. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to go first again. I'm just barging my way to the front of the queue. I don't know whether you've seen the 2014 family movie, Paddington.
No.
Which I personally don't like. Paddington and Paddington 2, they were like kind of big hits, and big critic favourites in the UK. And I know lots of people have said, this is the perfect family film, the perfect children's film. Oh, Paddington, wonderful. I personally don't particularly like either of those Paddington films. I've seen the first and the second. I have not seen the third. My two are a little bit old now to go and watch a Paddington movie. I think they are almost anti-cinema because in both of the films that I have seen, Paddington is constantly narrating what he does. And he just says out loud the things that he is doing, which we watch him do on screen. I think they're sort of anti-cinema. I'm not a big admirer of them.
I thought you were on the board of like Paddington 2 as being one of the great films of all time.
No, man, I'm on the board of Paddington 2 being one of my least favourite family films of all time. Yeah, I really don't like Paddington. I don't like either of those Paddington films that I've seen. But I tell you what, the house that the family live in Paddington, that is a beautiful fantasy house. Oh, not only do they have a housekeeper, which is the one thing that everybody I know covets to high heaven, but just this beautiful terraced house. I think the house is situated not very far away from where you used to live. Paddington hangs out on Portobello Road, doesn't he, I think?
Yes.
I think the antique shop that he goes to is in Portobello.
Oh.
So Paddington is almost living in the house that you lived in when you lived in London.
Yeah.
But his version of it is really beautiful. There is a mural of a tree which stretches up the stairwell of this beautiful terraced house that the family lives in Paddington. That is what I enjoy about those movies.
Great idea. Huh.
Obviously, it's an utter fantasy because there is no way that I would ever be able to afford that Paddington house unless I became a banker or an arms dealer.
Yeah.
But one can dream.
Great neighborhood. It was a great place to live. And our house was sort of a relic of that. It's kind of
Your house is beautiful as well.
Yeah, it was gorgeous space.
That house is incredible that you lived in Notting Hill.
I was very lucky. It's kind of like a museum too. She had so many antiques in there. It was wonderful. Well, I guess that means it's my turn.
Your turn. And you're not allowed to say Paddington.
Paddington 2. Just kidding. The greatest film of all time. I'm going to go for this. I'm cheating a little bit because this one's actually a Netflix series, but I've seen 100 Years of Solitude recently, and I love.
I thought you were going to say Jean Dielman then, the greatest film of all time.
That is
not an apartment I want to live in. But carry on.
Yeah, I would have liked to visit the apartment, but
yeah, I think if you did visit the apartment, you would have to bring like 60 Belgian francs or something like that for an hour, though. It's not, Well, I
think actually after having spent 3 hours in that apartment as a viewer, maybe I've had my fair share. I was going to say 100 Years of Solitude because I love the founding of this town of Macondo in the jungles of Colombia. And I just love seeing this house being built and expanding and then decaying and then sort of being rebuilt a couple of times and then just decaying entirely. But it's just this gorgeous, very evocative space with this beautiful sort of, inner courtyard. And I just loved it. I loved it because you see this family of generations living there, and it's just a beautiful space, and you see it constructed and deconstructed, and I think that's appealing to me. So that's my first choice, and then I'll get I'll get back to films after that, but that was my first dream house.
See, 100 Years of Solitude still on my list to watch. Alice has been halfway through reading the book for ages, and we've promised that we'll only watch the series after she finishes the book, but we might be waiting a long time.
Okay, well, I think you could read the first, because it's two, as I understand it, it's 2 seasons of 8, so you could probably watch the first 8 if you're about halfway through.
Okay, right, okay, yep.
And then who knows when the second 8 are coming out, so you'd probably be ready for the second 8.
This time. My second choice, a film that we watched for the podcast fairly recently. 1954, Roberto Rossellini. Filmed Journey to Italy. Ingrid Bergman. And her husband. Who was the husband played by? I can't remember now.
Is it Marcello Mastroianni? No.
No,
it's George Sanders.
George Sanders, that's it. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Ingrid Bergman and George Sanders inherit this absolutely beautiful home in Italy with a view of Vesuvius and a roof terrace, and a little sort of, an entourage. They have like 2 or 3 servants come with the house. Absolutely gorgeous. And of course, their first thought is, we must sell it, darling. Which strikes me as utterly insane. It's the one unbelievable moment in an otherwise extremely believable film. But, oh my goodness, to live in that film, to live in that house in 1954. You can smell it, you can taste it. You can just, I can smell the fragrance of the wine that they serve as they just drift off to sleep in the sunshine at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Beautiful house, beautiful view. Who would sell that? I would love to travel back to Italy and live in Ingrid Bergman's house in 1954. Fantastic. I presume, probably, I haven't done the research, probably a real house, isn't it? Probably shot on location. Probably a real place. Probably still exists. I bet you can go.
Probably. It's probably Rossellini's house is my guess, but that's...
you know what? I bet it is.
That's a bit of research we've got to do. That would make sense.
Yeah, okay. After we get home from the popcorn counter, I'm going to look that up.
Yeah.
Okay, what's your number 2?
Oh, God, that was such a good choice. Why didn't I think of that? My number 2, and these aren't really in any order of preference or anything like that. I think a number of my houses are actually going to be very modest, ironically. Night of the Iguana, which is... There's a film version of it, which I liked very much. It is a play, but it's Tennessee Williams' play. But it takes place in this sort of Mexican jungle, and it's this very cool, like, rooming house with hammocks overlooking this sort of the beach and this valley below them where these tourist buses are going. And you sort of hear about the tourist buses more than you see them. But the space itself is just cool. It's sort of like all bamboo, fits into the jungle very well. And all these just hammocks and this big porch where most of the activity happens and people are eating. It looks warm to me, which is really nice, and just like a total relaxation place. So I just felt myself at ease on that sort of deck or balcony in my hammock, just maybe reading a book, like maybe 100 Years of Solitude would be the book that I would read there. Oh.
It's Robert Mitchum in that film, isn't it? Night of the Iguana, am I right?
No, I think it's Richard Burton, Ava Gardner, and... It's not Bette Davis, is it? I'll look it up.
We've got a lot of things to look up tonight.
Yeah, I saw it last year, I believe. So let me take a quick look at that while you're telling me about your number 3.
My number 3, back to the US. 1959, Alfred Hitchcock chased Cary Grant across the United States, but ended up in James Mason's house in North by Northwest.
Oh, yes.
So at the end of the movie, James Mason has this beautiful modernist, like 1950s, kind of Frank Lloyd Wright-esque home, just on top of Mount Rushmore, bizarrely. And I'm sure that is not a real place. And it's a kind of a beautiful studio confection with bridges and mezzanines and great tall windows and beautiful views. But that is a beautiful, fantastic house. Exactly of the moment.
Yeah.
It's modern with a capital M. Beautiful bit of architecture. Probably impossible to build because I suspect once you add together all the different balconies and windows and bridges and the helipad, it's probably couldn't be all confined into a single space. But as a kind of a dream home, absolutely fantastic.
I think one of today's billionaires could probably build that, though. Right?
Maybe. The only disadvantage of living on Mount Rushmore is that you'd have to put up with all the noise as they drilled and chipped away at the mountain to put Donald Trump's face up on there as the 5th president. So it'll be noisy for the next couple of years. But apart from that, a perfect place to live. Magnificent.
Ooh, I like that. It reminds me also of Sleeper, the Woody Allen film, where there's the house is sort of actually new. Boy, that's interesting. I'll mention this. It looked like this sort of spaceship hovering over a highway. I've lived not far from it, and then I actually knew the woman who lived in the film where the orgasmatron scenes were filmed, because I lived in Boulder, Colorado, where that was.
You are so well connected.
Yeah.
Oh my God!
They call it the Egg House. It was in. I've been in it. I've actually been in that house.
Do they have an orgasmatron?
I looked all night long. I kept excusing myself to go to the bathroom, and I could not find the orgasmatron.
He's been gone for 25 minutes. What's he doing?
Where is it? The cheese is great, but I really wanted to see the orgasmatron. So that it's kind of the same era that you're right, from 1950s or maybe early 60s Frank Lloyd Wright era. So that's a great place, great film, North by Northwest. God, everyone should see it. I don't think we've done that on the pod, to my knowledge.
Yeah, we must find an excuse.
Great.
Yeah,
I'm looking for one. Okay, I'm going to go to the French film from the early 1990s, maybe 92, 93, Delicatessen. It's an entire apartment building, but it contains this bizarre story world that's right up my alley. Like the basement's all flooded out, and this old guy's living down there with a bunch of toads that he seems to be breeding, and then he's eating them. But as you go up, there's the actual delicatessen is on the sort of the street level space, and then the main character lives with, I guess his monkey has already died, so there are a lot of flashbacks to his living with the monkey. But it's just this very interesting apartment building. So it's kind of like a four floors of flats, just with these crazy characters. But it just evokes this kind of, that film's kind of lost in time. I feel like it's like a 1960s or a 70s film, but it's a film that's actually made a few decades later. But I just loved how weird that building was, and I think very evocative. It looked like a fun place. Not necessarily a cool, comfortable, or elegant place, but just a good time. Just weird characters. And, of course, people are getting chopped up and eaten, too. But in a subtle way. It's a nice chopping up and a delicious eating.
So wait a second. A home where they have unusual animals in the basement. I thought that's the house you grew up in.
I know. It's, yeah. See, I need a break, too. I guess Wes Anderson and I should take a break together.
I've my number 4 Well, no toads in the basement, as far as I can tell. Last week I was slagging off Wes Anderson.
Yeah.
And I know he listens to the pod, and I feel bad, so I apologise, Wes. Really, don't let this become between us. I know you were saying that the last 10 years of Wes Anderson films have really not been too hot, so I'm going to go back 11 years.
Oh, good.
To Grand Budapest Hotel, 2014.
Yeah.
So when I was like a student, after I left school, I kind of did some sort of bumming around, and I did lived in Israel for about four or 5 months, and for a while I lived in a big youth hostel in Jerusalem.
Yeah.
And I wasn't kind of staying in a youth hostel. I was like working there, so they gave me like this kind of little workers kind of like apartment in the youth hostel. And one of the joyful things about living in a hotel is that it's what the architects, I think, call simultaneity. You're simultaneously in a small space and a large one.
Oh.
So at the time they gave me like a couple of different little kind of rooms and apartments in this youth hostel. One was they had like this big theatre space, and they had like a couple of changing rooms on one side, and they gave me like a changing room next to the theatre. So I was living literally backstage in a theatre inside this huge youth hostel. And then they gave me a different room, which was like right up at the very, very top of the building in this weird kind of annex. Right at the top, you had these views over Jerusalem in this kind of sort of weird rickety tower right at the top of the building. For all of them, although I was sleeping in a little room with a little pokey bed, at any point during the kind of middle of the night, I could go down into this enormous kitchen or this enormous theatre, this enormous reception area, or there was like a sports hall. There was all this kind of stuff, and it felt like your home was both tiny and massive at the same time. And if I lived in Grand Budapest Hotel, it would be much the same.
Yeah.
This big, beautiful old building. It had, like a sauna and a Turkish bath, and an enormous restaurant and a huge kitchen, and it had like these tiny little bedrooms where the staff lived, and you were kind of enjoying both worlds at once, responsible for your own tiny space and yet able to luxuriate in these big public spaces, which were effectively yours after everyone else had gone to bed.
Yeah.
The idea of living in a big hotel, a lot of fun. I was thinking of putting down the hotel from The Shining. But maybe that's a bit too big and a bit too scary. So I'm going to go for Grand Budapest Hotel instead.
Good choice. And you've got experience living next to a movie theater, so you should come back to my secret mall apartment here at the popcorn counter. You just have to go. We're going to go through that little garbage can that I came out of.
Yes, it would have been down the long rickety ladder.
We can play some PlayStation together. Great. That's a good one too. For me, my last two, these are very modest. I think it's Spencer Tracy, right? Yeah. Old Man in the Sea. He plays this fisherman who goes out on the water, but he lives in this tiny little fishing community in Cuba. I probably can figure out the name if I think about it a little bit, but it's close to Havana. He's got this shack, one room, sleeps on newspapers. But it just looks so relaxing. No internet, no telephone, no bull. You know what I'm talking about, bull crap. Just a simple life of fishing, hanging out on the beach. And then there's this little boy who he befriends who brings him coffee and food. I mean, you've got service. Someone's bringing him coffee and food and the newspapers. And then you end up sleeping on the newspapers too. So it's a very efficient kind of space.
Recycling.
But just evocative. I just love the idea that he's so close to the ocean, and you can sort of hear it throughout that film. Now, I'm not a fisherman, and I wouldn't go out and try and get a marlin and bring him back on a tiny little boat, but I would like to live on that beach in that shack in Cuba. So that's why I say the Old Man in the Sea.
I am spotting a pattern in your fantasy movie apartments.
Yes.
I think, you want to be in a hammock near the ocean.
Yeah, a warmer climate with hammocks and ocean. Yeah, almost there.
Not bad.
Yep.
Like, I clearly want to live in the 1950s or the 60s, because almost all of mine are either films made in the 50s or set in the 50s. My final choice is it's a 2021 Pixar movie.
Oh.
Directed by Enrico Casarosa. Written by Jesse Andrews, Mike Jones. This is the one of those Pixar films which was released during the pandemic, so I'm not sure it ever really got a proper cinematic release. I think it had a theatrical re-release briefly, fairly recently. The film I'm talking about is Luca. I don't know if you've seen that.
I have not seen Luca, no.
So it's an animated film about a sea monster, two sea monsters. But the magic is that the sea monsters, a little bit like mermaids, when they come onto the shore, they just grow legs and they look like ordinary boys.
Ooh.
And so Luca and his buddy are sea monsters who live in this beautiful Italian fishing village. So they live in southern Italy, and this, kind of pretty run down, quite poor, but extremely community-minded little village right on the sea. People ride around on scooters. There is a cycle race around the town. They eat spaghetti and meatballs under the stars. It's beautiful, idyllic existence. It's like the eternal summer of your 14th year. It's just this kind of beautiful, idyllic, perfect seaside existence in this non-existent 1950s Italian village. And I could do a lot worse, I think, than shack up in a 1950s Italian village. As much pasta as I can eat. There's an ice cream store. Go swimming in the sea. It's always warm.
I think
what's missing? Nothing.
Yeah. Well, on this episode, you've shacked up in 2 Italian villas of the 1950s.
I have. There is a pattern forming, isn't there?
Pattern forming for you, too. For both of us, it's like just going south in our own continents, basically, and getting warmer.
Is this a podcast or is this therapy?
It's a therapeutic podcast.
Oh, why not both? What's your number 5? Don't tell me. Are you in a hammock somewhere in Central America?
No. Oh. Close, though. Well, not that close. But my number 5 is, I think this was 1986, probably 85 or 85 or 1986, a film called Bliss. It's an Australian film. You've probably seen it.
I have not. I have neither seen nor heard of this movie.
It was really, I think that really kind of informed my tastes when I was in high school, I guess. It's a great connection to last week's films in the sense that it's about a man who sort of he is an oil executive, so he's living this sort of really wealthy, fancied elite lifestyle
as he destroys the planet.
Yeah, and then but then he realizes he's doing bad, and he just goes full on like hobo instead, and he ends up living in a tree house. I don't even know where the forest like this would exist in Australia, but so it's this beautiful living in the forest, super simple. Again, just kind of made out of timbers that have fallen around him or whatnot. And he actually predicts the way he's going to die. He has this like near-death experience, and it just changes his attitude about everything. And he just divorces and falls in love with this woman named Honey Barbara, who also lives out there in the forest with him. And it's just, it's like forest living, treehouse. Just looks really cool. He's living in rags. He's got a walking stick. He's getting really old. And eventually a tree branch just falls on him and he dies. God,
that's the way that we'd all like to go, really, to be honest. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. You have no idea at school. He knew it was coming somehow, but
I've written a fair number of death certificates in my time.
Yeah.
And weirdly, tree branch has never been at the top of the cause of death on any of the death certificates I've written. I've been missing out.
See Bliss. You'll see it happen. I've spoiled it a little bit, but it's a great film. Really kind of quirky and weird, but wonderful, and very strong environmental message and anti-corporate message, and I think it's good. Yeah, anti-fossil fuels way before anyone was doing anything like that. So
yeah,
that would be my other house. I've got a tree house. I've got a shack. I've got a palatial Colombian situation there. I've got the Night of the Iguana, that beautiful forest place. So I mean, I'm feeling comfortable. I'm feeling quite comfortable.
I'm impressed that none of our dream homes are enormous mansions with swimming pools and.
I know. I should have thought more about that, but
we are men of modest needs.
I guess so. Yeah.
And small ambitions.
Yeah.
Such small ambitions that I reckon we could probably both fit into that small bin in the corner.
Let's do it, man. I'll go first. Don't take the trash out. You've got to go through the trash. Otherwise, you're going to give it away.
We have very modest ambitions. You're exactly right. Does the smell get better as you go down?
No. It's sort of like sewer room, so just follow.